California wildfires are a problem that continue to affect millions of people. They burn down communities, destroy ecosystems, and take countless lives every single year. And yet, the government seems to be doing nothing in order to prevent wildfires from happening in the first place, or mitigating their effects when they do occur. In this speech, I'll go over the problem of wildfires, why it is such a serious problem in terms of their increased frequency as well as intensity. I'll also go over the causes behind wildfires, which is mainly climate change, which is caused by human action. And then I'll go over possible solutions in order to prevent wildfires from happening in the first place, as well as trying to mitigate their effects when they do occur. So first I'll be starting with the problem of wildfires. Why is this such a big deal? So UCLA published on July 12, 2023, quote, "We're getting hotter, drier air that makes fires easier to start. It makes the fuel much drier and the fires spread faster. They're more difficult to fight." UCLA also published on June 10, 2020, quote, "The number of days with high fire risk in California has doubled since the early 1980s. If carbon emissions aren't curbed, wildfires will continue to increase in frequency and intensity." So according to UCLA, wildfires have been on an upward trend in terms of their frequency as well as intensity since the early 1980s. So over the past 40 years, the number of days per year in which wildfires are at high risk has almost doubled, which is obviously can be very detrimental to affected communities as the amount of time per year that they are at risk of experiencing wildfires has doubled in the past 40 years. Now moving on to the causes of wildfires. The main cause behind wildfires, at least in the Western United States, which includes California, is human-caused climate change. UCLA published on December 13, 2021, quote, 68% of the increase in vapor pressure deficit across the Western United States between 1979 and 2020 was likely due to human-caused global warming. Additionally, the Scientific American published on October 29, 2020, more than half of the acres burned each year in the Western United States can be attributed to climate change. So these two sources tell us that one of the main causes of climate change one of the main causes of wildfires is climate change. And the UCLA publication tells us that almost 70% of the increase in vapor pressure deficit, which is one of the effects of climate change that causes wildfires in the Western United States, has increased almost 70% in the last 40 years, between 1979 and 2020. And the Scientific American publication tells us that more than half of the acres burned in the Western United States every single year from wildfires can be linked to climate change. So the issue of climate change, human-caused climate change, which is a very controllable thing, is actually a major contributing factor to the wildfires that are occurring every single year. Now moving on to solutions. So how can we prevent wildfires from happening in the first place, as well as how can we mitigate their effects when they do happen? My proposed solution is that the government must take action in order to do the aforementioned things. They must enact legal and policy reforms in order to prevent wildfires, as well as helping the communities affected when they do happen. Time published on August 26, 2021, there's a bias in the law over the last 100 years towards creating lots of liability for people who try to create fires on their lands, and no liability for people who keep their lands as a tinderbox. So this tells us that for the last century there has been a bias in the law of California and the United States, in which those who intentionally start fires are punished. There is liability for them, but for the people who are negligent in the upkeep of their land, who are basically complacent in the spread of wildfires every single year, there's no liability for them, which obviously must change. And the Public Policy Institute of California published on July 8th, 2024, quote, "Retreat is just one tool in a larger toolkit of possible adaptations." So what the Public Policy Institute of California is referring to here is the idea of managed retreat, which is, if enacted, it would be a policy that slowly moves affected communities away from lands that are very wildfire prone. While this would not prevent wildfires from happening in the first place, it would help affected communities when they do occur, because they will be farther away from these high-risk areas. So now that I've gone over the highlighting the problem of wildfires, why they're such a big deal, as well as going over the causes of wildfires, so why did they happen in the first place, and then I also went over the possible solutions. So how can we prevent wildfires from happening, as well as how can we help the affected communities when they do happen. So hopefully these solutions do come to fruition, and the government will enact policies that will reduce climate change in order to prevent wildfires from happening in the first place, as well as enacting a policy of managed retreat to help affected communities when wildfires do occur. Thank you.